Hello. What we'll be covering on this video is tracking customers, adding customers on the fly, setting up non-tax customers, how to change the sale type while you're in the middle of a pot sale. Alright, let's get started. Now first, we assume that you've already watched the Selling Pots Inventory Basic. We're not going to be covering some of the basic things you'd be doing in a POTS invoice. It's assumed that you saw that first. This is only going to be concentrating on tracking customers. One thing I want to mention before we get started. Tracking customers is extremely important in this day and age. We highly recommend tracking your customers. It opens up a world of opportunities for you, the dealer. Number one, you can contact your customers via email anytime you wish. You can contact your customers sending text messages. You have a way of soliciting your customers, sending out sales type information to get them to come back to your dealership. You have the ability of sending them emails the minute their pots come in from a special order. You have the ability to send them emails when their service work order is done. You have the ability of sending out user satisfaction summaries. With just a click of a button, the system will automatically notify customers of everything that's what's going on. So it's a great tool. You can't utilize it unless you track your customers. Alright, let's go in, and we're going into POTS invoice just like we did earlier on the previous video. Now in the previous video we just hit F1, which means we're not going to put a name on the customer. Now we're going to actually put a name on this invoice and track everything he does with us. And let me show you the benefits that you get from doing that. I'm going to start off looking up a customer that's in the system already. Now I can do that a couple of different ways. First thing I can do here is type in the customer's telephone number. Most of our customers use the telephone number as the account number. You don't have to. The reason it works quite well is when a customer walks in the door, you can just say, "Sir, what's your telephone number?" You type it in, he'll instantaneously pop up on the screen. Now I can say, "Tom, nice to see you." I don't have to remember his name. I don't have to remember how to spell it. It looks very professional, and it's kind of a way of life nowadays in this day and age. But you can type in anything you want looking at customers. We have a generic lookup, so you can type in name, you can type in registration number, you can type in pretty much anything. What I'm going to do, I'll start off just type in MO. It's going to give me an alphabetical listing of my customers that start with MO. Obviously, I only have Tom Moore. Now, this is a standard lookup that you've seen already. You can do name searches, which is what it's doing now, looking for anybody that just starts with MO and goes forward. If I typed in a number, it would automatically give me an account number lookup. If it found that number out there, it wouldn't give me any lookup at all and go directly to the customer. If I want to, I could say, look, I just know the person's name is Tom. A keyword lookup is a very powerful tool. You can type in anything you have on the customer's file. Could be his first name, his last name, his city, his state, obviously telephone number, could be the registration number, anything that you have on file. And as you know, there's a user-defined database, so you can tell the system what you want to keep track of. And once you tell it you want to keep track of it, it's searchable. So let's just pick Tom Moore. That's who I am. Now I'm in my basic POTS sales screen, which you've seen in the previous video. What I'm going to cover here is just the things that you can do tracking your customers. Let's look at a couple of things quickly. For example, you have this button here, which basically says display customer information. You also have the exact same thing right here. As I mentioned earlier in a previous video, sometimes it's easier to use this invoice option because everything is listed on all the different things that you can do. Well, let's say I need to find something out about this customer. Now I can click, here's my customer database. Now we're not going to go over in great detail of all these things. Some of them are self-explanatory. Obviously I've got the model of what he has and the thing that was important to me. I can put in pretty much anything I want here. The things that are important, if you're going to track customers, even if only you put in the customer's telephone number, the customer's email address, and the customer's cell phone number. Just with those 3 bits of information, you'll be able to contact that customer. You'll be able to email him when anything happens that he needs to be aware of, like special order pots being received, like a service work order done. And you also can send text messages. So it's a great tool. Now, while we're looking at this screen, we'll go over some of the things here. For example, he gets a 10% discount on anything he buys. It's off list. There's no expiration date. He hasn't used a credit card. If he did use a credit card, it would save the credit card. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to see the number. You wouldn't be able to see this information, but you'd have it on file. So if you've got a customer that uses the same credit card all the time, you don't have to keep asking him for his credit card. Now, there are a couple of buttons over here. Obviously, we can say, I want a picture of my customer, and you can attach pictures of a customer or of their product. You can print out a statement here. Maybe you want to print out, customer owes you some money, and he says, can you email a copy of the statement? If I have his email address, I can click here and email him a copy of that statement. You can actually get directions on how to get to his house. If you click here, it'll actually print out directions and show you the quickest way to get to his particular address. A couple of real valuable things you can do here and why it's so beneficial to track your customers. I can click here and say, is there anything outstanding? Well, there's a bunch of things outstanding for him. He has 3 work orders out there. He has one that's done that he hasn't picked up yet for $422. He has 2 more work orders, one for $619, one for $745, where they're not completed yet. We also quoted him a new unit that he was supposed to get back to us the beginning of October. It was for $8,000. So this will let me know if there's anything outstanding that we need to know about for this customer. Another thing is maybe the customer says, look, I've been buying a lot of product from you. Can you give me a little bit better discount? Well, there again, just click of a button, and now I can see exactly. Okay, it looks like this month you've spent $12,000. Prior to that, October you spent $350. November 2009, you've spent $85. You've had 3 invoices last year, 1 is this year. So you can instantaneously see what your customers are doing, what's going on, how many they're spending. This is a valuable tool because many customers will say, look, I've spent a lot of money, can't you give me a little bit better discount? Now, let's look at the detail. This will give me the detail of every invoice that customer has ever done. For example, this is a new unit system. This is a new unit sale. This is a POTS invoice. I can click on any one of these lines. If he asks about this particular invoice that happened in 2009, this is a POTS invoice that happened at 11:10 in the afternoon, and there's the POTS counter person that did the sale. I can click here and see the exact POTS that it did, the exact time it was. I can actually click here and see the general ledger entries that were made for that particular entry. I can actually email him another copy of this invoice. If he says, can you send me another copy of that invoice I need to look at? Or if I want, I can just print it out. Now, our invoice is a custom design, so this would look different for your particular dealership. But you can get the history of anything that happened for this particular customer. This is a service work order. If I click here, I can see exactly what we did on that particular work order back in 2003. I can reprint a copy of the invoice and see exactly what we did, who did it. So you have a wealth of information that you can just click on a click of a button. Secondly, maybe I want to find something. Maybe the customer says to me, I bought a battery. I think it's still under warranty. Well, let's just click this button that says Find Item. Now I could type in a vendor and a part number, and it'll search his whole history looking for that particular vendor and part number. It's much easier just to use keyword. I'm just going to type in BATT. That's all I really need to do. Yes, you did buy a battery from us. Unfortunately, it was back in 2000. We charge you $35 for it. This happens to be the part number. Well, you know what? I'm assuming he's going to need another battery, so I'm going to copy that. So you can find out anything about a customer whenever he asks you a question. Maybe he says, my motor's running rough. When's the last time I bought a spark plug? I think you put it in service, and maybe I put some in myself. This checks his whole history file. Obviously, these are service work orders. We put 4 new plugs in back in 2008. He bought in November of 2009, he bought 30 new spark plugs. So anytime a customer will ask you a question, you have everything he's ever done. Okay. Let's go back. Now there's one other thing I want to mention while I'm here. We've mentioned many times we have a user-defined database. Well, this is my user-defined database for My customers. I told my customer that I wanted more than one phone number. I want my summer house phone number. I want his work phone number. I want his email at work. I want his email at home. I want a picture of my customer. I could have a video of my customer. I could attach 5 or 6 pictures of his products. So you, the customer, have the ability of telling the system what you want to keep track of for your customers as well as your products. And there again, for more detail on this particular function, look at setting up user-defined data for customers as well as products. Okay, so we've looked at a few features that you can do in here. Now let's go back here. Now that number, that battery that I copied, obviously I can just paste that here, put it over here. That battery is now, they used to be $35, is now $31. If I want to sell this to my customer, I can sell it. But let's look at some other features that you can do by tracking your customers. Suppose the customer says, well, look it, I need a particular part for my unit, and I don't remember what year it is. I don't remember, maybe it's a motorcycle and I don't remember the tire size. Maybe it's a boat and I don't remember the prop size. Well, by clicking here and going display service information, what this will do will look up everything that this customer has ever done in service as well as buying products from you. So when I click here, this customer actually is a good customer. Obviously, he has 4 different products. He has 2 motorcycles, he has a trailer, and he has a boat. Now if he wants to know, I forgot what size prop I have on that boat, I can click here. This tells me the year of the boat, tells me the basic information, but I also have my user-defined template for a boat that basically says, yes, this is the size prop you have. And yeah, if you weren't sure what type of outdrive, it's an Alpha 1. So now I can get that person the right parts. Or maybe he says, well, what about, there again, maybe I need to know something about this particular motorcycle. You know, maybe I want to know the tire size, which I don't know. Well, there's the tire size right here. You know, maybe I just want to see a picture of it. So by tracking your customers, it opens up a world of opportunities. Also, if the customer was doing an estimate and he says, can you just email me a copy of this particular estimate? You could just click here. All right. So we've gone over just a couple of things on tracking customers and some of the benefits that you get from tracking customers. What I want to do next is let's put a brand new customer in on the fly. First of all, we're just going to cancel this invoice, so I'm just going to say let's cancel it. I want to delete the entire invoice, and that's how you would do that. Now let's go in and put a brand new customer in. I'm going to go in, same thing, POTS invoice. Now, like I said before, you don't have to type in anything. You could try doing a name lookup, but let's just start off the way most customers do, and I'm going to type in this customer's telephone number. And now if he's in my system, it will not give me a lookup. It'll go directly to the customer and say, okay, is the invoice screen, and here's who the customer is. If it doesn't find that telephone number, it does a lookup by account number. That's the closest it could come to that particular number. Now, if I know this customer is not in my system and I want to put him in right now, new, well, I can just say, okay, I know he's not here. It's the first time he's been in, so I'm just going to hit the escape key. When I hit the escape key, it's going to ask me a simple question. Do you want to add this customer to your database? Well, the default is yes, so I don't need to use the mouse. I'm just going to hit the enter key. Here's that exact same screen. Now, it's extremely important to track customers, and I realize that asking POTS people to key all this information in sometimes just isn't going to happen. Let's be real. So maybe what you want to do is what a lot of our customers do. Just ask the POTS person or service, whoever, to basically say, look, get his telephone number, get his name, get his email address, and if he wants to have text messages, get his cell phone number. So let's just do that. We're going to put the customer's name in, and let's just say he's called John New, the customer. Now, I'm not putting in anything in the alpha field here because it's going to automatically put New as the last name. There again, if you want more detailed information on what these fields will do, hit the help screen. It'll give you that. Also, look at the video for adding customers. Now, what I'm going to do is put in his name, put in his email address, and maybe I want a cell phone number. You know, so let's just say he's Verizon, and the number is, maybe that's all I need right now. I got his name, I got his email address, so now I can contact him anytime I need to. And I also have his cell phone number, and I have his house phone number. They could be one of the same. Now all I'm going to do is say F4. Now keep in mind, depending on setting up your security system, you can set up the security system so POTS people cannot allow charges. They cannot allow discounts. So this is all going over under security, so that right now I'm opening up where I'm like an owner and I can do anything I want. So I'm just going to hit add. I want to add this customer to my database. Now that customer is now in my system. And whether he buys anything or not, next time he comes in, if he gives me his telephone number, his name, he'll pop up with anything that he's ever done. All right, let's just hit the escape key. We're done here. If we need to change something, we could obviously change it. Notice how the add button went away, and now all that's left is the change button. Okay, now that's who I am. And now we're in our pot system, and now we can sell this new customer any pot we want. And let's just go here, and we're going to sell him 10 of these, and let's just say he pays cash for it, and he gives me $35, and that's our change. Now he's in the system. Next time he comes in, we can just easily go in and say, okay, sir, what's your telephone number? 401-438-3030. Okay. Hi, John, how you doing? Now if he says, well, I was here a little while ago, I bought something, there again, I can click here, I can look and say, okay, is the invoice we just did? It was done at 11:10, and is the pot on the invoice, and there again, I can email it, I can print it out again, do whatever I wish. If I want to see exactly you know, how much money he spent so far, well, he hasn't spent a lot, obviously. You know, but so there again, it's a great tool to track your customers. Now, one other thing I want to do here is let's do this here. Let's just we're going to, you know, cancel the sale here. And one of the other things I want to do is, how would you set up a non-taxable customer? Let's assume that customer is non-taxable. We don't want to charge sales tax on them. If you're going to set up a non-taxable customer, what you want to do is set the customer up, number one, and let's go in and we'll change him to a non-taxable customer. Okay, and if I want to set him for a non-taxable customer, I'll go right back here. This tax number, if you put something in that tax number, that identifies this particular customer as a tax exempt customer. Legally, you're supposed to have something to track this customer. So we're just going to, you know, if you don't have a tax ID number, then sometimes people just put his telephone number. Not that you have to, you just type in anything. But by putting that in and hitting change, now this particular customer is basically a non-tax customer. So now when I sell a pot, it's not going to charge sales tax. So this is one way to do a non-taxable customer. Now obviously it knows what pots are taxable, what pots aren't. That's done internally. But if you have customers where you're never going to charge sales tax, then you'd want to set them up that way. Now if you don't want to track customers, but yet you still want to sell people with no tax, then you could set up a generic no tax type account, and so anytime you're selling to somebody that's a non-tax customer, you could actually just use that and it'll go in and just make it non-taxable. But there again, we really recommend tracking your customers. It's extremely important, even if they only came in once and bought a spark plug. It opens up a world of opportunity. You can really get a good handle of who your good customers are, and you can solicit those customers. Okay, one other thing I want to do is, let's do this, is we're going to go in and change the sale type in the middle of a sale. And that happens. Let's suppose I go in here, POTS invoice, and I decide that I don't want to put a name on an invoice. And now all of a sudden I'm basically selling a bunch of pots on this here particular invoice, and right in the middle of it, oh, let's do this here. Maybe I'm over here and I type in I typed in a pot number, computer comes back and says I don't have it, and I want to special order it. And it doesn't know who the customer is. So now I have to type in the customer name. You know, I'm just going to call him new customer. and it doesn't know his telephone number, it doesn't know anything. So I have to key this information in. And he wants 4 of them. Now, maybe I want to email him when these pots show up. I want to look professional. I want to just tell them, look, and I'm not going to call you. They may be in next week, maybe not, but you know what? If they show up at 12 o'clock on Friday, you're going to get an email at 12:01. But I can't do that unless I put him in my database and give him an email address. So in the middle of any sale, I can just click right here, change sales type, or obviously all the same functions are right here, update sales parameters. It takes me right back to the very beginning. Now I can change that sale, so now I can add that customer and put him in my database. I could change it to an estimate. I could change it to a mail order type sale. But let's go in, and I've decided that, you know what, I want to put this, I went in, I was lazy, I didn't really want to put the information in. Now that he's special ordering of pots, I want to maybe capture some more information. So now I'm going to put in pots invoice. If he was in my system, I could just look him up. But let's just say, there's his telephone number. I know he's not in there. Now maybe I want to look for him. You can still do a search right here. I can actually go in and say, well, what's your first name? Your first name is Larry. Okay, let's see if you're in here. Nope, your name is new customer. Well, nope, you're not in here. So that means I didn't find you. If I didn't find you, I'm going to hit the escape key. Hit the escape key. Yes, I want to add you into my system. And now we're going to add him in as new customer. And we're going to put in the appropriate information. Obviously, at this point, you would put in his email address if you wanted to email him those pots are coming in. And if that's all I really want to put in, then I can just say F4. We've added them in the system. And now we'll go back here, and I'm right where I left off. So at any point in time, you can change your sales type. You can go in and change anything that you need to do. Now there again, it is assumed that you've watched the Selling Inventory Basic to know how to handle all the idiosyncrasies of updating, selling pots, and looking up pots. Now, if I want to cash this out, I'm going to cash this out. Well, because he special ordered some pots, we need to get a 50% deposit, which happens to be $59.38. Your system could be 100%. There again, that's set up internally. I'm going to want $100, which means he's going to give me $115. And let's just do a credit card sale, and we're going to swipe the card in. We're going to get our approval number, and that's basically it. So that's a look on tracking customers. Okay, what we recommend next is just go on to the next video, but make sure that you've watched the Inventory Basic. Okay, have a good day.